Hello and welcome to the fourth round of the Virtual Touring Masters Classic here from Laguna Seca, and this is a night event with two races around this twisting, winding California track, and it was Chris Butcher who put his Ford Sierra on pole position with championship leader Adrian Holm alongside him on that front row. Third place Eunice Rivio, while second place in the championship Toby Davis was alongside him. Third row was Nairing and Sarlo, an excellent effort in the big Holden Commodore around this tight and twisty track, with Monroe in 7th, Dobbing an excellent 8th, Orban 9th, and Miguel Nato on his VTM debut in 10th. The lights would go green and the field would get underway then. The disaster soon struck for Anders Nielsen. The squeeze on this narrow grid proving too much for the stability of his M3. And the field snaking its way through the corkscrew for the first time. A big gap between second and third. And this was why there was a big gap between second and third. Nairing and Rivio going for the same piece of tarmac, resulting in disaster for Rivio and championship leader Adrian Holm. Holm would drop outside the top 30. But by the start of lap 2 he was siding his way through the field, giving Chris Vickers here a big scare as he moved into 24th spot. And a lap later he was going down the inside of both Demelin and Ferreira at Rainy Curve into 20th. Now in lap 2 Davis had also had his issues and he was back to 14th, and here he was diving past Rivio for 13th. Rivio wasn't done, however, and the two scrapped it out round the back of the circuit. The feud eventually solved as Rivio ran out of track. Almost immediately Davis was on the attack as Beck and Amaral got involved. Cervic pounced. And then so did Davis. Then becoming the pouncer himself on Cervic. On lap 4, Rivio's miserable run of results continued, losing it up the hill and being nailed by poor Jeff Dobbing. Lap 5, and this was Adrian Holm passing Jonathan Ockerklint for 16th. Later in the lap he got past Lennon and Beck, and on lap 7 he was through to 13th past Reece Gardiner. While on the very next lap he was challenging for 10th, going past the battling Cervic and Bass. And as Cervic challenged Bass for 11th, he ran wide, and that allowed Amaral to come through. The other championship contender fighting his way back through the field was Toby Davis, and on lap 10 he had caught the 6th place battle, Yuntz and Sarlo, getting both positions in just one turn. For Yunt, it was one step forward and one step back. On lap 11, here was the order. Butcher with a very comfortable lead over Oscar Hardwick, who was beginning to be reeled in by Orban, Munro and Nyring. Davis was 6th, with Yunt 7th, Sarlo in 8th, Nato in 9th, Holm was still in 10th. On lap 12, here was Bruno Sauso Ferreira challenging Bradley Vanian for 18th. While going into lap 13, Ockercliffe here was going to clean up Scott Cervic. Nyring had run really well, but this lapse in concentration cost him 3 positions. He would get going just ahead of Miguel Nato, who a few laps later, on lap 16, was coming under big pressure from Adrian Holm. Adrian's progress had been slowed as the opponents got tougher, but this mistake from Nato meant he surrendered 9th spot. Now the Orban-Munro-Hardwick battle for position 2 had become even tighter, and as Orban had to avoid the back of Hardwick under braking, Munro pounced and took the position. Davis was quickly there also as well, and he took advantage of this small bobble from Matty Orban to take 4th. Orban losing 2 positions in half a lap. While on lap 17, on board with Davis, he was watching the battle between Munro and Hardwick, who seemed to be side by side in every corner. And as they came 3 wide up towards turn 7, Davis went through, and some small contact in behind saw Munro lose out. Hardwick was pushing hard on very worn tyres, and Orban took advantage of that mistake to take position 3. On to lap 19 then, the penultimate lap, and Munro had gone around Hardwick, but had he? Hardwick fought back and led into turn 4. But as Munro went for the cutback, Hardwick aggressively defended his line and sent Munro hard into the wall, a move which would see him in very hot water indeed with the stewards. Now the penultimate lap also, Nyring was challenging Sarlo for position 6, who was clinging on in his heavy Holden, and out of nowhere appeared Adrian Holm, squeezing down the inside, and Nyring losing out, Holm up to 6th. While at the front of the field, Chris Butcher had been in a league of his own, led every single lap, and took a well-deserved, comfortable win. Confirmation of that win for Chris Butcher then is 24th of his TPS career, with the battling Toby Davis finishing in 2nd spot. 3rd podium position of his career for Matty Orban, with David Junt in 4th. Oscar Hardwick finished 5th, but lost 16 of the 21 points after the race, while Adrian Holm finished in 6th. Rasmus Sarlo finished in 7th, with Klaus Nyring will be disappointed with that 8th spot in the end. Miguel Nato on his debut in the VTM 9th, and John Munro in 10th.